Hi, this is Ed from Pittsburgh Pet Fence, and the purpose of this video is to show you how to properly fix or repair an underground dog fence wire if you know where both ends of the wire are. If you have a dog fence and you don't know where both ends are, then you're going to need professional help in finding that wire. But if you do know where the ends are, you can repair this yourself. Now, there's a lot of videos I've seen on the internet, and a lot of them are wrong. I'm going to show you the absolute proper way of doing this. We've been in business for over 15 years. We have thousands of customers, and I go through this a lot, so I figured I'd make a video. Now, obviously, this represents your wire that would be underground. It's all whole, but then you find a break. And if you find both ends, that's excellent, because I'm going to show you how to fix that. Now, let me show you, first of all, how not to fix it, because this is what most people try to do. So let's say we'll use these two pieces. Let's say we have a break, and landscapers are famous for doing this. They'll strip the ends. Of course, they don't want to pay for the repair job, so they try to repair these and walk away. And what they'll do is when the wire's down, you got to keep in mind, you don't have the ability of stretching because the wire's buried. So you actually have to introduce a new piece of wire. But let me show you how a lot of people incorrectly fix these. They'll kind of pull the wire, which brings them out of the water or out of the ground, and then they'll go and they'll do some type of twisting on here. Now, I have something already done. It'll end up looking something like this, which, it actually does make the fence work because you've got a connection here. Sometimes people will just bury that. The problem with this is this copper is going to oxidize over time. The term for copper is oxidation or patina. Obviously, the Statue of Liberty should look nice in copper, but it doesn't. It actually has that greenish, bluish look. That's because it's been, exposed to the environment, water and air for a long time, so the color changes. Well, you don't want that with your dog fence wire. You really want that nice copper look, because that's going to help the radio signal flow through the dog fence, basically. So what we'll see a lot of times is either people will do that and walk away, and then what will happen is that'll oxidize over time and it'll fail. It might not fail for a while, but it will fail eventually, and then nobody knows what the cause was, but we can usually figure it out. Sometimes people will take tape, maybe they'll bend this over, and they'll be like, well, it's on electrical tape, so that's good enough. The problem with electrical tape is it actually makes it worse, because water is going to get in. It's not going to be tight, so a lot of times we'll see this underground. The problem is that water is going to get in, and the tape actually holds that moisture in, so now it actually probably expedites the oxidation process, so you're going to get more corrosion over time, and corrosion is basically going to block that signal, so that's not the right way. Sometimes we'll get people that will add a wire nut to that when it's underground, which is not a bad idea, but again, they're not waterproofing it. Also, what you're noticing here is I'm adding no more strength to the wire. So people will do something like this. Believe it or not, that can kind of be tugged away, and so can this, especially if you just twist this. That can be broken away over time with a rake or some type of device. So let me show you how to properly do this. So let's say this is your wire. What we need to do is actually introduce a new piece of wire. Every break on a dog fence really needs to be repaired, for the most part, with two splices, unless you have some play here. But if you don't have stretch, which most people don't, you've got to do it this way. So what we want to do is, I'm going to flip this over because I already pre-stripped these pieces of wire. We're going to introduce this new piece of wire. Now, you want to kind of take this. I marked this with a little bit of white tape so you can see it's a different wire. And I usually cross it at about 8 inches. And you want to do a square knot. That is the key. So square knot is simply this upper wire goes over and then it goes under. And that's what forms a square knot. And then we're going to pull it. Now, here's the benefit of a square knot. You've now added strength to this. That's what a square knot looks like. And if this wire gets pulled in any way, it actually is going to tighten. And then we actually take these two ends. I usually, again, somewhere between 6 to 8 inches. And then you need to take, these are wire strippers. They cut on one end as well. So we're going to line these up. I usually kind of crimp them off so they're about even. You want to do about you want to do a minimum of a 1/2 inch. 3/4 inches actually be just about perfect. 1 inch is going to be too long. It's going to give you too much. So now you can trim these off, and the wire nut is important, but what the key is using one of these, and I'll get to that in a second. So we're going to go ahead with the wire nut. Now here's the proper way of using a wire nut. I see a lot of people trying to pre-twist this wire before they use the nut. That's incorrect. You want to just put them in the end. It'll actually do the crimping for you when you start to tighten. Now you're going to notice when I go to tighten this, at some point the wires are going to turn in my left hand, and I'm going to tighten this a little bit more. And now you can kind of see the wire. See how it's starting to turn? That's a good connection. I can tug and it's in pretty good shape. Plus I got the added strength of this square knot. But now we need to waterproof this. And that's where the tape fails. So this is called a gel cap grease tube. We actually get these specially made for us. We get a special dielectric gel. If you smell that gel in there, it has quite an odor, but it keeps it really waterproof. And this has a hinge on it, and the wire can come out each side. So let me go ahead and demonstrate. I'm going to stick this in, and we actually stick it all the way into that jelly, and the jelly kind of goes over that nut, so it totally covers it. Then I'm going to separate these, and you can kind of see how that works. And then we're going to close this cap, and it actually snaps, and you can hear it snap. So now that is a proper splice. And that basically adds this new piece of wire. We still have the existing dog fence wire over here, so we have to do another one. So again, it would be one over, and then one under. Square knot, we all learned it in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts when you were younger, I guess. And they really work because the benefit of a square knot, and I've seen different people do different knots, but a square knot's going to be your best for this purpose. It's going to add the most strength and so forth. So you can imagine me doing this. I have an example over here. It's already finished, so I can speed up this video. And now you're seeing what a proper splice looks like, or a proper repair. You've got two square knots, you've got two nuts, and then the two gel caps with the dielectric gel. Now to bury this, obviously the straight wire is just going to be buried normal. What we do to bury this cap, we use a pick-matic, and I use the pick part, and we hammer it in, and we kind of create a little hole. You could also use a screwdriver and kind of make a little hole for this to fit in and stick that in the ground. You can tap on this lightly to push this in the ground, and then you can kind of squeeze like this and get that in there. And that is the proper way of doing a dog fence. And I've seen this so many different ways of people trying it. And there's other gel caps out there that I don't like either, by the way. So you can go to the big box stores and you can find 3M. Nothing against them. I just don't believe in them. I've tried them before. Nothing works as good as these. And I'll have a link on the bottom of the page here, and you can have, if you would like to purchase a kit from us, and we can send you the video as well. But we'll have that for sale. So it's the proper gel cap, the nut, and the proper wire as well. Now, if you notice, I also used solid wire. That is my preference for dog fencing. There are a lot of companies out there that use stranded. Stranded's much harder to work with. You get your fingers pricked by trying to work with the metal. And I always tell people that stranded wire is nothing but a lot of thin wires wrapped together. Let's say there's 10 wires stranded and they're kind of put together. If 8 of those wires break, and now you got 2 holding that together, you kind of get a weak signal going by. I'd much rather have the wire either whole or not. If it's broken, it's easy to go find the repair. But when it's when you have it in a situation of stranded, you just get some weird results. It's just easier to work with solid, especially putting them in the spring connectors. Everybody has their own opinion, but I've been doing this a long time, and we love stranded. And for Western Pennsylvania, where we are, we use 16 gauge. We use a high molecular weight polyethylene coating, which means it's very scratch resistant. And it's, we have a lot of shale and sharp objects under our dirt. This is the perfect wire for our area. It has a 0.3 jacket. You could use a 0.45 jacket with just a little bit more insulation, but it's the perfect wire. So I hope this is helpful. I've just seen so many things on the internet that just aren't kind of close or correct, but this is the absolute way to do it. Thank you.